Hi, this is Lincoln Barber with Photo Authentic. I want to welcome you to the Path to Pro course, Module 1. This is entitled The Photographer's Mindset. This module is all about getting into the right headspace to be a photographer, to run your business, and maybe even help your own personal life as well. I've been on a journey of being more in tune with my mindset over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's really made a difference in my day-to-day life and also in my business. So I wanted to share with you things that I've learned, and hopefully they can help you too. I'd like to start with a simple breathing exercise. I find this technique really helpful if you're stressed out, if you're on a shoot and things aren't going well. It's just to take 3 deep breaths and just think about your breath, and that's all you have to do. So for right now, just this is a practice. You don't have to close your eyes or anything. Just take a deep breath in through the nose and then let it out. And do 2 more of those. Okay, so hopefully you've done some breath at work and you're feeling a little more calm and a little more grounded. It's a really good, quick way to snap out of any sort of stressful situation, just to do those deep breaths real quick. But it also just helps you before you start anything creative or start to work on some project, just to do a little breath work and stay in tune with your breath. Highly recommend it. I read this quote earlier this year, and it really stuck with me. I'd like to read it to you today. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It's a Zen saying, and if working on my mindset has taught me one thing, it's that there's no end point. There's no finishing it. You become aware of these techniques for helping you work through mindset issues and mindset problems, but you never really become a master. There is no mastery. It's ongoing. It's something you always work on, and it's something that you can always strive to get better at and to learn from, and you just have to keep working at it. So not only with mindset, but also with anything in life, you have to chop wood and carry water. Whether you want to get to someplace or whether you're there, the only way to continue things going forward is to stay active and to stay proactive. So I love this quote, and actually I have just chop wood, carry water written on my dry erase board in my office. So let's first talk about the importance of mindset and why I'm talking about this at the beginning of this course is that I believe having a good mindset at the outset will get you a lot more benefits going forward as we work through other things like marketing and sales and digital asset management and all that stuff. I think if you are trying to do too much before you have a real sort of clear mind, you're going to end up repeating mistakes and not really getting a lot of traction. So the first thing that I think is important with mindset is you overcome obstacles. A healthy mindset will give you strength to see problems or challenges as something to work over, not something to run away from. And I've often come to points in my career where I basically didn't think I was going to get any farther. And I, through my own sort of willpower, found a way to get through these things and learn lessons and made mistakes, but at least I was able to get past them. So I attributed that a lot to having a good mindset. A good mindset will help you achieve more with less effort. I feel like in my life, as I've gotten older, I've been able to sort of simplify the actions I take on a day-to-day basis to get more out of it. And so part of that is just knowing what the right thing to do is at the right time, and having a good mindset and being connected to yourself and your needs not what you want, but what you actually need, will help you get more from your efforts than you would just by running around trying to do everything at once. A good mindset will help you make better decisions, not only about what you eat, but also about what you buy. If you're looking to buy some new equipment, if you have a good mindset, you're not going to just buy the new shiny thing that comes out right away. You're going to take some time and think about it. Maybe you test it. Maybe you buy it used. So having a good mindset and being connected to what's important will help you make better decisions in your career and also in your personal life. And finally, a good mindset is all about focusing on the process, not the outcome. Success is the outcome, but you don't just will success to happen. You have to follow steps, and you have to have a framework, and you have to remember that it's all about doing the work now for the reward later. You don't become super muscular just one day by going into a gym. It takes years and years and years. The same thing with a successful business. It is not something that you can just turn on one day and have it. It may seem like that other people have this, but it's not true. Everybody has had some process to get to their level of success or failure, and working on that process is what a mindset is all about. So let's talk about what a healthy mindset is, as opposed to unhealthy. A healthy mindset is about growth. A growth mindset encourages you to expand your own abilities by building off what you've learned already. So it's many times in work, I think I figure something out, and then I learn a little bit more, and I learn a little bit more, and a little bit more, and I keep growing off of everything I learn. And so it kind of creates almost like a snowball effect. So a healthy mindset allows you to learn from your existing lessons and grow from that, and to become a more well-rounded person. A healthy mindset brings balance. In your life, there are many things in life that are pulling you one way or another, and if you're not in touch if you don't have a good healthy mindset, it's really challenging to find that balance. To find a balance between work and rest and play and eating right and exercise. So being in touch with and having a healthy mindset will help you find balance in your life. It'll also help you find resilience. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I do believe that part of being a successful photographer is just being resilient enough to stick with it. There's an old saying, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's so true with photography and any sort of venture where you're putting yourself out in the world and you're risking it. You have to learn how to pick yourself up when things are down and stick with it and stick to the plan and make it happen through your own willpower. And a healthy mindset will help you build up that resilience. And the last thing I want to mention about a healthy mindset is honesty. Having a healthy mindset means being honest. It means being honest with yourself, with your abilities, with your skill, with what you really want out of life. And it also means being honest with your clients and with the people that work for you, as well as your friends and your family. If you can't be honest, then we're going to have an uncomfortable feeling inside you, and you'll always struggle with that feeling. So a good, healthy mindset will help you stay honest and be true to yourself and to the world around you. So I'm calling this mindset tools, this section of the mindset tools. These are all the different types of exercises that I've either read about or done my own. These are just a small sample of things that are out there in the world. And I implore you to do your own research, because not everything I talk about will stick with you, but some of it might, and then you can always delve in more. And I'll post some books that I've read that talk about a lot of the things I'm about to talk about. But that's the most important thing, is that remember that they're tools and they don't always work for everybody, but these are some of the best ones that I found that work for me, and I think work for many people in general. The first mindset tool I want to talk about is self-talk. Self-talk is essentially affirmations. It's things you say to yourself, either in your own mind or out loud, that determine your current situation and where you end up going in your life. I used to not really believe in affirmations. I used to think it was kind of like a hocus pocus thing, but I've done some things recently that have changed my mind about that. And it starts with sort of writing out a list of 10 things that are positive and have real meaning and real sort of substance, and describe your place you want to be or your future self. So, for example, I want to be a photographer that shoots for a magazine is kind of weak. What you want to say is, I am a photographer for Dwell magazine. So the difference is wanting and being. And if when you use make affirmations, if you put them in the I am mindset, they will have a lot more power, and they will stick to you a lot more, because it's easy to trick your brain into believing things. And by saying things like, I am really good at photography, or I am good at selling myself and making jobs happen, those kind of positive affirmations will really have a lot of power for you. This is something I learned recently, where you want to start with the end in mind. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying with the process. You think this is another thing that I learned about recently, called it's starting with the end in mind. And essentially, you'll get tripped up if you spend too much time thinking about, oh, where do I start, or what do I do, or how do I get here? What you really want to do is start with where you want to end up. Like, what does your life look like at the end in 3 years? Do you have the studio that you want? Do you have the income that you want? Do you have the type of photo assignments that you want? So you want to kind of be really clear on that end result, because then you just work backwards from there. So if you want to, you just break it down into small steps and then follow that path. You kind of create your own path. So you want to start with the end in mind, so that you can start today working towards that end result. This is a huge thing that I've discovered in the last couple of years. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you follow me on social media and you notice that I'm not very active, and that is intentional. In my life, I have spent, I've been able to reclaim countless amounts of hours and time by removing distractions. Distractions include all sort of social media notifications, email notifications, text messages, everything. I try to minimize that as much as I can. I don't have any notifications on my phone. I have to tell my phone or my email program to check my email. It doesn't automatically check it for me. When you remove distractions, you stay focused on the task at hand, and you choose when to look at social media, or you choose when to check your email. So this is a really powerful thing, and I highly recommend you just look at your phone and go, and there's a thing in the settings that tells you how long you're looking at things, and figure out where the biggest time sucks are, and figure out a way to remove those distractions. And removing notifications is probably the quickest and easiest way. But then the more you get into it, the more you want control over who interrupts you in your life. This is a big part of this mindset stuff, is learning how to prioritize. And it's a lot of times, people will write to-do lists, and they'll just be a big long list of things to do, but there's no real method to it. You don't know what's is more important, and sometimes some things feel more important than others, and it's really hard to kind of to figure out how to prioritize. And so this is a really easy way to do that, and something that I do weekly and daily just to help me stay focused. These are the 4 quadrants of priority. So in quadrant 1, we have things that are important and urgent. In quadrant 2, we have things that are important, not urgent. In quadrant 3, we have things that are not important, but urgent. And we have quadrant 4, which is not important, not urgent. So let's just do a quick example of the different types of priorities, and so let's put them in different quadrants. So quadrant 1, for example, would be you have a photo shoot that needs to get delivered by today, and that's the most important thing. So that would be a quadrant 1 type of thing. Quadrant 2, which is important but not urgent, would be something like sending out an email blast to your list. It's not urgent that it gets done, but it's really important because staying in touch with your clients and your prospects is the best way to get work. An example of a quadrant 3, a not important but urgent problem, maybe when your mom texts you that your dad is doing something really annoying, and she wants you to call her right away. So it's probably not important. It's probably just mom and dad having an argument, but it sounds urgent. And so because it's your mom, you want to get back to her. But those kind of things you need to kind of put in your sort of quadrants of priority and say, is this really important? And if it's not really important, it can wait. And the last thing is the things that are not important, not urgent. And this I would say probably almost all social media notifications I would say are not important and not urgent. No one is desperately trying to get a hold of you on Facebook or Instagram. It's not important that you're on your phone all day long. So just pick a time in your day to be on social media and just make it very small and make it a very small part of your life. So those are the 4 quadrants, and right now they're equally weighted. What I like to do is focus my day like this. So you can see in yellow is the Q2, the quadrant 2. It's the things that are important but not urgent. So making this presentation for me today was this important but not urgent task. And so I made a big part of my day about this right now. And then the important urgent things are jobs that I have bids out for and I need to get back to people, or things we're trying to get delivered. So I have set aside part of my time for that day for doing those tasks. And then anything that was not important but urgent, it takes up a little bit of more time, but not as much as what's happening there. So, and then the things that are not important, not urgent, I just squash them as much as I possibly can. So I hope that helps understand how you prioritize things. And one way I like to do this is to get a pack of Post-its and write one thing on each one, and then sort them by Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, and work on the Q2 ones first, and then get to the Q1s before the end of the day. Okay, time blocking. This is a really good way to get the things done that seem hard to do. So, for example, if you need to work on your website and you need to update your portfolio, what I would recommend is actually scheduling time in your calendar to do that. So it's almost like booking a job. Like you sort of book time with yourself to do these important things. And then you could take this as far as you want. You can book time for exercise. You can book time for checking social media. You can book time for writing emails. There's been a study done where, if you just check your email at like 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., it's the same as checking it all day long. So people don't really need anything super urgent. If it's super urgent, they're going to call you. So use time blocking and book time in your calendar for the tasks of the things that you want to get done. A daily journal is a great exercise. I've been doing this all year now. I basically start my day, get a cup of coffee, and I just write 3 pages, sort of stream of consciousness. Sometimes it's work related, sometimes it's personal, but it's just a way to kind of sort of just get things out of your brain and offload stuff. Like a lot of times you go through your day and you're carrying emotions or feelings or or happiness or sadness. You're carrying all these different things with you all day long, and writing them down allows you to download and kind of clear up some headspace so that you can kind of have more room in your day for the next things to happen. So a daily journal is a really good practice to do, and definitely do it with a pen and paper. Don't do it on a phone or a computer. Writing by hand is really good for your brain, and really good to kind of let go of a lot of stuff that's kind of bubbling around. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about, is what I said earlier, is chop wood and carry water. This stuff doesn't never end. You just keep doing it over and over again, and you keep refining it, and you keep getting better at it, and it gets more enjoyable. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes, and the more you can grow. So keep with it. Before we leave, I want to talk about some consequences of ignoring mindset. And I feel like earlier in my career, I made a lot of mistakes, and it's because I wasn't really I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing. I was reacting. I wasn't being proactive. And so a lot of mistakes would happen because I was just reacting to things rather than planning things out. If you ignore your mindset, you start believing in the limits that you set for yourself. So you create these limiting beliefs. I can't do this because blah, or it's somebody else's fault that I can't do this. You start believing all the negative self-talk, and that's why you need to squash that. Drama. If you I have a zero tolerance policy for drama on set and in my life. I can't stand drama, and I've noticed people who just don't have a good mindset are very drama prone, and those are people to avoid. And if in your own self is to reduce the amount of drama, because drama is what leads to discourse and unease, and will not serve you well. Ignoring mindset will lead to health problems. A lot of times people who ignore their mindset, they don't exercise, they don't eat right. And so that kind of stuff, when you're young, you don't seem to notice it, but as you get older, you really start to notice it. I'm 43 now, and I definitely wish I had done a lot more exercise when I was younger, because it's harder for me these days. So I would recommend working on your mindset to keep your health in mind as well. Loss of focus. This is something that I feel, and this is one of the reasons I got into mindset, is that I just was having such a hard time being focused on what was I doing. I think once I had kids, my mind just kind of went fried and sideways, and I had less time. And so I had to start working on my mindset in order to take the time that I had and be able to be effective with it. And if I find that the times when I'm ignoring my mindset techniques, I lose focus, and I get kind of lost, and I have to restart things over again. So definitely work on your mindset so you can have better focus. And finally, ignoring mindset restricts your potential. You are only limited by what you believe you can do. And it sounds corny, but it's true. There's a Tony Robbins saying that if you want to conquer the island, burn all the boats. You just have to go out all in on whatever it is you want to do, and don't let your mindset restrict what you possibly could do, because life is unlimited, and you can take it any direction you want. So just focus in, and don't let your mindset get in the way. So I want to leave you with some action steps to help with this mindset stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the chat. But also I'll post some books that I think are great sources for this type of stuff. But here are the action steps real quick. So write 10 positive affirmations and say them out loud every day. And again, those affirmations should all be I am statements, like you're currently this, I am a millionaire, whatever it is you want it to be. But 10 positive affirmations and say them out loud to yourself every day. And then I want you to write one page about where you want to be in 3 years, and not only just in your career, but just in your life. Just write what your life looks like in 3 years. That's the vision that you have of yourself in 3 years. I want you to remove distractions. I want you to turn off all notifications from social media. I want you to change your email so you have to. I think it's called. You don't want push notifications. You want to turn those off. You don't want to have websites telling you when their sale is on for some new shoes. Like, just remove all notifications. I want you to start taking all the tasks, all the things that you want to do that are important, and organizing them by importance, and go with that whole quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4 technique I showed you earlier. Then I want you to make sure you book time in your calendar for those Q2 tasks. Make sure you're taking the time to work on your website, to work on your promos, to work on your emails, to work on those cold calls and everything. Just book time in your calendar. It's the only way it's going to get done. And then I would, just for a week, try the daily journal. You may love it, you may hate it, but at least do it for a week, and just to see what I'm talking about. It really is super helpful, and it doesn't have to be a full 8.5 by 11. I use like the 5 by half or 5.5 by 8 size. I think they're called executive notebooks. They're kind of smaller, so I cheated a little bit, but it's the exercise of writing down 3 pages every morning by hand. It's super helpful. And then check out the links below for some suggested books. Finally, chop wood, carry water.